Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Wednesday Namaste session. We were just listening to a little bit of Krishna Das chanting. What a great way to get going, isn't it? To feel the energy, the vibrancy, to get things moving, to shake it up a little bit. Shake up this world because that's what needs to happen. If this world gets shaken up, we see it for what it really is. If our thoughts hold it together in a tight restraint, no space between our thoughts, moving from one to the other, we never really see that this world that we created to hide, to deny, the real world that is all around us this very moment. But in this awakening, this experience that we are all engaged in, that we join in, we've talked about this before. It's like there is space between our thoughts. The space is beginning to get wider and wider, and we're having a more difficult time linking them together. And at first, we may think that there's something wrong, there's something going on with my mind, I'm losing it. No, you're gaining everything. When that space starts to get greater and bigger, all this really happening is that you're not able to hold the concepts in place in the same way that you were before. But those concepts that you've been holding in place have been showing you something that isn't really there. That's just an illusion in your mind where you hide. You hide within that dream or within that illusion. But this joining, this awakening has allowed that to expand, to open. It's like my friend Jeff Pivar, who I've mentioned here before, who when he was very young worked with the great Ray Charles and was in the studio with Ray. And Jeff actually played me a tape recording of all the stuff that Ray would say to him in the recording studio. And I said to him, "Do you think Ray minded that you recorded all this?" He said he didn't know. But one of the things that Ray did say to him that I heard him say is, it's not about the notes. It's not about how many notes you play, because Jeff was really good at playing a lot of notes. He said it's about the space between the notes. That's where the magic, that's where the music is. And it's the same for us. It's the space between our thoughts, between our concepts, and then those thoughts and concepts begin to just fall apart, fall away, and we're left with everything. Why would we choose some things when everything can be ours? That's pretty much the essence of what we share here every single day. So it was nice to hear Krishna Das kind of getting things rolling with that chant. And actually, it reminded me of something else that I actually woke up singing this morning. I've been learning how to play a lot of Cat Stevens songs back here in my anchor hold. I intend, when I get out, just for fun, to do a Cat Stevens review and magic show. And so I woke up with this song in my mind. I've been practicing a little bit. It's a bit more of a new song of his. And it goes, I'll sing it just a cappella. I have dreamt of a place and time when nobody gets annoyed. And I have to admit, I'm not there yet, but something's keeping me going. Maybe there's a world that I'm still to find. Maybe there's a world that I'm still to find. Open up a world and let me in. Then there'll be a new life to begin. Isn't that perfect? Open up a new life and let me in. Let me into this experience. Let me into through the gates of heaven. This is where I am. This is where I belong. This is where I've always been. So this is the experience we come together and join in every day. And our thoughts begin to expand. Our concepts begin to fall away. And we find ourselves right here in this moment. And so in this moment, I want to share a little bit more of the lessons from this new collection, The Impersonal Light. I think all of these lessons are a great jumping off point to the experience that we're describing here. So here we go. You ready? Take a deep breath. In fact, this first paragraph is a doozy. This first paragraph is a real awakener. It shakes the world again. It shakes your resistance, your identity, ultimately to reveal that none of them are needed. None of them are required. So I want you to hear this and listen to it, not with your mind if you can. Obviously, your mind, your intellect will be involved, but don't try and figure it out. Let it figure you out. So here it is. My consciousness, remember, this is your I am consciousness speaking directly to you. My consciousness is the inner essence of everything that exists. The inner essence of everything that exists. Another way to say this would be, everything that is what it is, through and as the I am consciousness we share. Let me read that one more time, because that's a big one. Everything that is, or you could say everything that is true, everything that is real, is what it is true or real, through and as the I am consciousness that we share. That's the key. This is what we share. It's the only thing we share, this consciousness. Why? Here it is, because it's the only thing that can be shared. This unified consciousness, this whole mind, is the only thing that can truly be shared. Do you see that there's nothing outside this? For my mind and my essence contain all that there is and all that there ever will be. My mind or my essence, the essence of that I am, which you share with everything, contains all that is and ever will be. Likewise, the truth of your essence is the same as the truth of my essence, because what is essential in one is essential in and for all. See what I mean? This first paragraph nails it. It doesn't nail it at an intellectual level, but if you're like me, you feel something here. There's something of such great vibrancy within those words, even though those words are symbols of symbols. They can never really quite go there. Still, there's something there that is parting that curtain so that you can see what's always been there. It may have been separated by a very thin, tiny little curtain, but now you see. Okay, let's go on. You may be trying to understand what you just heard through the faculty of your intellect. It will only confuse you further because the mind you are using to try and understand this truth is not my mind and is therefore not in my mind. And what is not in my mind is not in your mind and therefore is not real. There we go. Let me read that one more time a bit slower because this is saying so much. You may be trying to understand this intellectually through the faculty of your intellect. It will only confuse you further because the mind that you're using to try and understand truth is not my mind with capital M's, my mind. It is not my mind and therefore not in my mind. And what is not in my mind is not in your mind. And therefore it is not real. And this brings into focus that the primary teaching here, what is not in my mind, meaning the mind of that unified whole consciousness that we may call God, what is not in my mind is not really in your mind, though you imagine it may be. You think it is. You think that you can think apart from God. You think that you can live or exist apart from all that is, as if you've carved off this little space just for you. And maybe you'll let a special person in once in a while. But all you're really trying to do is to carve out that little separate place from heaven. Why? What have you gained? You've gained nothing, but you think nothing is something. This is the insanity of the ego. You think nothing is something. Nothing remains nothing forever. It is nothing. While something is like nothing, but everything is everything forever. And it's in your mind right now, everything. Okay, a little bit more here. The intellectual mind that you use to navigate through the world you think you live in cannot see past itself. It cannot see past itself or its limitations, and therefore cannot perceive what I am, or where I am, which is everywhere at once. This is the intellectual mind that you use to navigate through the world, that it can't perceive what I am, the I am within you, or that you could be everywhere at once. You have identified with that mind, that limited mind, and therefore have lost your way, wandering blindfolded through a forest you believe to be dark and foreboding. All I am asking you to do is take off the blindfold and see that the path before you is clearly lit. It's clearly lit and easily followed. But as long as you have that blindfold on, you can't see it. You can't see how clearly lit the path is and how easy it is to follow. We have to allow the blindfold to be taken away. We have to open up our eyes. The forest is not dark at all, but it seemed so when your eyes were closed or covered. Now that they're not, everything appears before you exactly as it really is, as opposed to how it seemed to be in your imagination. Everything appears before you exactly as it is and has always been, as opposed to how it seemed to be in your imagination. What a shift that is. What an amazing revolution that is. Yes, I am everyone at once, and that is all you need to know. I am everyone at once, and where I am, you will forever be. You with a capital Y will always be where I am. Once again, the intellectual mind cannot stretch this far, but the truth within you not only can, but already did, already has, could never change that. The only thing that's changing is your consciousness of that, your willingness to see this, to allow this to be true in your mind. That's the awakening. That's the experience. That's what's happening to you right now. And as we come to a close of a very interesting year, 2020, we realize that time has no hold on us. Years and New Year's and all of these different weeks and months passing has nothing that can change the truth of who you are and always will be. That I am frequency that is becoming more and more heightened every moment, more and more vibrant every moment. So there you go. I'm going to turn it over to Vicki and let her take it from here. Are you out there, Vicki?
I'm right here, Jimmy.
Morning, darling.
Right here. Morning. Well, I have a perfect example of being in the way for the most part.
Right.
Yeah. So every morning, I told you last week, we have this wishing star we put on the tree to give all our desires to the Holy Spirit, all our interests, all our thinkings to the Holy Spirit. So this morning, I did that. And then Teddy and I were meditating. And just to go into that space of that space between the words, the notes, all that. So I end the meditation, and this cascade of thoughts came into my mind. And I'll call them perhaps inspirations. They were all loving thoughts of doing this or doing that. And I sent them to Teddy, and Teddy said, "That's how you meditate?" And then I realized, well, I guess today that's how I meditated, because I needed to let all those thoughts, resist nothing, flush up into my awareness so that they could pass out without me holding on to any one of them and engaging with them and trying to make something of them. And that's what I realized as I listened to this passage, that when I awaken, I join with what's present. What's present was my brother. What's present is the whole space of God's presence and love that fills up wherever I might be, because I do recognize it comes forth from me, through me. And the function is to of healing would be to let everything that's in the way get out of the way. And what better way than to let it rise up when we're quiet and enjoy its passing and not resist anything and be left with a present moment of the unknown, of here I am, Lord, right now, right here, willing to see the revelation of the kingdom that is within express itself however it does in this moment, in this day, as this call and as you listen singing Cat Stevens. So it still is about resist nothing, but value what is valuable, not what's valueless. And recognizing the difference is the difference between, I guess, sleeping and awakening. And no matter how lovely our thoughts or ideas about what to do, if they're coming from our thinking mind, we can laugh at them, enjoy them, and let them pass without biting into them and engaging them and making them into the next moment of our lives, of the world, so that we're free to discover the kingdom as it unfolds before us, inviting us to join with it. So that's my practical application today.
You know what I love about something like what you just shared, and maybe this is true of what we just read here today as well. I have no idea what you just said. At least, like, I can't hold on to it. But, and this is why it's so great. As you were saying it, there were just these truth lights were going off inside me. It's like truth, 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 truth. And when you just dive into that, and it's like an ocean wave, it just washes. How do you describe an ocean wave when it's washing over you? You can't. You just experience it. And when I hear you sharing something like that, something so beautiful, it's like that ocean wave that just washes over me and takes me. And that's maybe the key, is just to be taken by it. You don't need to figure it out. You don't need to define it, or, well, I think what Vicky meant was this. So, like, no, I mean, I think what Vicky meant was this. You know, there are no words to where that took you and where you just took us. And once again, that's the openness that we've been describing. The space between all of those concepts just gets bigger and bigger and wider. And then you're just in the moment, because you're not just linking together thought after thought after thought. That's what time is. You're just in the moment, just experiencing that, like I just experienced what you shared. Thank you, Vicky.
That was a very gracious summation. Thank you.
It didn't start off so good, me saying I have no idea what you just said,
No, that was perfect. That's great.
but that's why
Thank
it
you.
was so great. Thank you, Vicky.
Thank
Let's turn to Teddy. Teddy, what would you like to share today?
I am going to be a little intellectual at this point in time.
All right, someone's got to.
Well, you know why? It's because I mean, I listened to what you said, and it's all what you're saying fundamentally within how things work is true. However, if you're a student of the course, the words that you were using are diametrically opposed to the way Jesus uses them. So Jesus would say consciousness is the domain of the ego. It's a receptacle. And God is the mind with which we think, and we share but one mind. So the words you used were a little bit different. You were talking about we share a consciousness and our minds are separate. So what I'm trying to say is that's one of the things, one of the reasons why I'm doing this, this Zoom group tomorrow is because Jesus has very specific meanings to the words he uses within the Course as he uses them. And when you understand his words as he means them, it makes it much easier to understand the Course. When we bring traditional meanings of the words because we think, because he uses a word like consciousness, and we all know what consciousness is. Well, his understanding and his use of the term is different than the traditional use that we bring to it. And the Course is about letting go of all of our ideas to join with him. And that's the way he does it. And that's why he, in a sense, in the use of terms and also the first few chapters, miracles, principles, and stuff, he redefines the words that he uses within the Course in order to show what he's talking about rather than what we think he's talking about. So I'm not saying that what you're saying theoretically was wrong. I'm just saying course students would find it difficult to understand and take exception because the words mean something different in the Course than they do as you use them. Otherwise, we're all trying to say the same thing. Somehow we're together and we're one. And there's something that we do share. And there's ways in which we come to learn of our connectedness and how we, salvation is a collaborative venture. We come together in the recognition. I mean, if the problem is separation, then you can't be saved alone. There's got to be a joining somewhere with your brother in the recognition that both of you are saved because you're not separate, and you can't be separate from everything, which is basically what it's all about.
Yeah. And that's the problem with words. Even when we're
Yeah.
saying the same thing, it can sound different.
Well, it is, and that's why so many, that's why so many books are written, and people take exception to one book as opposed to another. Everybody's trying to express something in the language that they use, and that what Jesus is saying is the problem is there's no communication here because everybody thinks they know what everybody's talking about based on what they're thinking. So you're only getting the result of what you're thinking in a conversation with somebody because words don't communicate, bodies don't communicate, minds do. And the way minds do is by releasing everything and joining, not by evaluating things and trying to come together on particular ideas.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. We cannot come together on the idea, only the experience. And then that reminds me of a very interesting story I heard once about an audition for a musical on Broadway. And they were bringing in all these different actors and singers, and they each had sheet music that they would give to the pianist, and then they would sing a song, and the director would be out in the audience listening. And so on this particular day, a woman came in and she gave the music to the pianist and then began to sing like this. She went, I say potato, you say potato, you say tomato, I say tomato, potato, potato, tomato. And the director said, stop, stop. Excuse me, Miss Levine? No, Levine. That's the problem with words. Okay, enough of that. Let's head over to Namaste. And I know Ravi's not there today, but I believe Mark has been trained in how to unmute you guys. So let's go ahead and do that. Good morning, everyone.
There we go.
Oh, Ravi's still there. Okay. Ravi, I think a few people are going to a retreat up the hill today for a little while. So, Christina, would you like to share anything?
Good morning. I don't have any words to add to all of that, but what I would like to share is an invitation. Today, as a community, we are holding silence for a period of the day, and I saw the times, and I'd like to recommend that we add a meal time to that, because there is a very powerful opportunity when we are gathered in silence to notice the thoughts that go through the mind and resist the temptation to speak them. And the invitation that I'm extending is to all of us, to our greater community here, to join us in our day of silence and to allow the humble exploration of awareness, discipline, discernment, and the willingness to say yes to standing aside and allowing the grace to simply flow through us with the mind out of the way. Thank you.
Beautiful idea. There's something very powerful that happens when we eat in silence together. Or like you said, just watch the thoughts, but don't need to express them, don't need to say them out loud. So I'll let you guys decide however you do that. Maybe you can have a discussion when session's over, and whatever you want to do is fine by me. Thank you. Anyone else there at Namaste want to share anything?